So we are talking about breast cancer self-examination. Researchers have identified hormonal, lifestyle, and environmental factors that may increase the risk of breast cancer. But it is unclear why some women who do not have such risk factors still develop cancer, and yet others with risk factors never do. It is likely that breast cancer is caused by a complex interaction of genetic makeup and environmental factors. Regularly examining your breast on your own can be an important way to find a breast cancer early, when it is more likely to be treated successfully. Some people are of the opinion that self-examination may cause even harm by prompting unnecessary biopsies, that is, removal and examination of the suspicious tissue. But breast cancer self-examination is more useful than harmful. It is an important screening tool, especially when used in combination with regular physical exams by the doctor, mammography, and in some cases ultrasound and/or an MRI. Each of these screening tools work in different ways and has strengths and weaknesses. Breast self-examination is convenient, no-cost tool that you can use on regular basis and at any age. All women, including women with disabilities, need to routinely perform breast cancer self-examinations. So let us see who is vulnerable to breast cancer self-examination. Being a female is the most important sign of vulnerability. Women are more likely than men. They are more likely to develop breast cancer, but men can also develop breast cancer. As age increases, risk of breast cancer also increases. Women older than 55 have a greater risk than the younger women. A personal history of breast cancer in one breast can lead to an increased risk in developing cancer in another breast. If one has family history of breast cancer, like a mother, a sister, or daughter with breast cancer, one has greater chances of being diagnosed with breast cancer. Certain gene mutations that increase the risk of breast cancer can be passed from parents to their children. These genes can greatly increase the risk of breast cancer and other cancers, but they don't make cancer inevitable. So don't be scared. Being overweight or obese also increases the risk of breast cancer because fat tissues produce estrogen that may help to fuel certain cancers. Beginning of period before the age of 12, that is early periods, also increases the risk of breast cancer. And if menopause begins after 55, then again the risk increases. Women who give birth to their first child after the age of 35 may have an increased risk of breast cancer. Then many women go through hormonal replacement therapy. In certain disabilities also, hormonal replacement therapy is given. These medications, somehow the medications that combine with estrogen and progesterone have an increased risk of breast cancer. It also depends on the breast density. A denser breast is 6 times more likely to develop as cancer. And again, drinking alcohol and smoking tobacco, again, increases that risk. Women exposed to severe caloric restrictions, especially in early life, appear to be at an increasing risk of developing this cancer, even decades later. Low level of vitamin D is again, it puts a woman at a higher risk of the cancer. Radiation exposure is also like one of the factors. If one has received radiation treatments of chest as a child or young adult, one has more risk of developing this cancer in later life. Thus, women with disabilities are more vulnerable to it. Their sedentary life and lack of mobility because of locomotor disability may cause obesity. They are also likely to be exposed to frequent X-rays and prolonged use of medications and experiences lack of exercises, nutrition, and childbearing practices than women without disabilities. Therefore, regular screening is likely to result in detection of tumors at early stages when treatment is more successful. Moreover, there are inaccessible healthcare centers and wheelchair-unfriendly mammogram machine. Many women who use wheelchairs, they cannot transfer themselves or get transferred onto the standard examination tables. And women who have tremors, who experience spasms like in cerebral palsy, who lack the stamina to stand at an imaging machine also need to be seated for accurate screening. Also, they are more likely to be unemployed, live in households with low income or below poverty level, and they reside in rural areas, and they are less likely to have post-secondary education. The overwhelming nature of living with disability can also result in forgetting to take care of preventive techniques or their preventive health needs. Disability combined with old age is also a risk factor for not receiving mammograms. Educational materials in accessible formats like braille, audio tape are not available to those with sensory impairments. Families and caregivers of those with intellectual disabilities may not be fully aware or sensitized enough regarding the risk of breast cancer. Women with such disability may not cooperate for screening. They may refuse to accompany a carer for screening or refuse to enter the screening unit. They may refuse to comply with the requests such as undressing, become unduly distressed or agitated, or shy away from the staff or equipment. In such cases, parents or caregivers need to find out a way to get them ready for their screening. Women with limited hand and arm function, with lack of sensation in their fingertips, and low vision may have difficulty in performing the procedure of self-examination. Breast cancer may thus become a major health concern, particularly for women with disabilities. Their physical limitations can interfere with proper screening and even their proper treatment. The treatment of primary breast cancer involves various combinations of surgery, radiation therapy, systematic chemotherapy, and hormone therapy. And if diagnosed, women with disabilities are more likely to be diagnosed at an advanced stage of breast cancer, where treatment becomes difficult. So mortality rate there becomes high. Unfortunately, in developing and in many underdeveloped countries, this screening is not done due to inaccessible healthcare centers and wheelchair-unfriendly mammogram machines. Examination tables used for breast cancer screening cannot be adjusted for a wheelchair user, a short woman, or a woman with mobility impairments. According to recent research, 70% of women who do not practice breast cancer self-examination regularly, they remain at risk. And most of them do not practice breast cancer self-examination. And for the females with disability, this percentage is much higher. There are some reasons why. There is more reliance on carers to identify a need to undergo such screening, particularly in those in institutional care. Venues are inaccessible. There are inaccessible transport systems or means to pay for the transport. Lack of attendant care support. There is lack of information or lack of alternative formats, lack of appropriate equipment such as hoists and ramps. So all these contribute to the increasing risk. One may also think it will never happen to me. Already enough has happened to me. I couldn't have cancer. So if I look for a lump, I will cause one to form. Such thoughts are common. One may feel uncomfortable touching one's breast or having someone else touch the breast. One may get a feeling that life is already out of control. What's the use? Many may find this examination to be unpleasant or on the thought of checking the body parts for something dangerous. They may try to avoid it. One may not even want to know if a tumor is growing inside the body. So, because of disability, one may be checked by health professionals more than many other women and may resent having checked again from time to time, saying that one more thing, I don't want to get this done. So, as a woman with disability, one needs to discuss about it to become more comfortable with the concept of regular breast cancer self-examination. And if one cannot do it oneself, the carer or the attendant can do it. Breast cancer self-examination is a simple, private, a quick way of taking control over your breast. Every time one does self-examination, one has to mark it on the calendar. And one should try to do it on the same day. If one doesn't have periods, it should be done at that time. If you are more familiar with your own breast, you are more likely to notice that when something has changed. You can learn yourself what is normal. Breast cancer self-examination will help us find changes that may lead to breast cancer. And one can do it while sitting, while lying down, or in any way, but it has to be done. It is very important.